I wanted to see how fast I could go from not knowing how to juggle 5 balls at all to doing it for 10 seconds straight. There's a long list of athletic benefits to juggling, including improvements in reaction time, reflexes, spatial awareness, concentration, and it helped me burn some extra calories while I was trying to lose fat. The internet said it could take me years to learn how to do it, and that it's much harder than juggling 3 balls, but I learned how to do that in a couple hours when I was like 10. So even with the pessimists, I still thought I could learn this in just a couple days, and it'd be a lot of fun. There are 2 basic goals with any juggling pattern. Do a flash, which is throwing up all the balls and catching them, and qualifying a pattern, which means making twice as many catches as the number of balls being juggled. For 5 balls, that's 10 catches. This didn't seem like it would be much of a challenge, so I made my final goal to juggle for 10 seconds straight. I know, it doesn't seem like a very long time. Normally I'd be crying after only lasting 10 seconds, but in this context, it's the equivalent of being asked, "Are you done yet?" Trust me, neither of us want this to keep going. I bought myself some beanbag juggling balls because they wouldn't bounce all around the house when I dropped them 8,000 times. And yes, that's an actual estimate of how many times I dropped the balls. And I got to work. My skill level right off the bat was kinda all over the place. I'd throw the first ball off into the distance on some goes, but then I'd get 3 or 4 catches right after. I actually managed to make 5 catches after just 4.5 minutes. The internet isn't clear if this is considered a flash because I didn't end on the 5th catch, so to not upset the juggling police, I didn't count it. Even with some success, I felt very erratic and like I was just trying to get lucky, so I moved on to some exercises that I found online to help me build up to doing the 5-ball flash properly. I got 1 ball and reached my hand up. Around my fingers was where my 5-ball height should be. I tossed back and forth trying to hit that height every time. Then I grabbed 3 balls and started juggling them at that 5-ball height. It's harder to be as accurate when throwing higher, but I got it under control in a few minutes. Then I moved on to doing a 3-ball flash at 5-ball speed and height. Throwing the balls up this quickly felt very unnatural. I was throwing them all over the place and could not get the timing down for a while. Eventually though, I got more consistent with the throws, starting from my left and right hand. So I added in a 4th ball and did 4-ball flashes. This felt more complicated, but I caught on much quicker because of the practice I did with the 3-ball flash. I practiced until I was consistently landing it going both ways. Before I could add in the 5th ball, I had to learn how to hold, throw, and catch 3 balls in one hand properly. 1 ball goes between the palm and the pinky, 1 between the index finger and the thumb, and the 3rd goes against the other 2 balls, while the middle and ring fingers grasp it.
Firmly grasp it!
The balls are caught in this order and thrown in the opposite order. I had the theory locked in, but actually doing it in practice was a different story. The balls would hit each other or hit the ceiling. I would constantly throw the balls too far forward, which would make the catches impossible. And when I did make the first couple of catches, I just could not land that 3rd ball in my fingers.
No!
I kept trying and tried to make sure I was using the balls that were in my hands as barriers to catch the others. And finally, I caught the last ball and landed my first 5-ball flash.
Yeah!
I wanted to make sure it wasn't just a fluke, so I had to land it a few more times. 1 goal down, 2 more to go. I set my sights on adding in catches 1 by 1 to get to 10 catches. It took me hours to get a 6th catch in there, and then a 7th. I needed a new game plan because this was way too slow. Catching 3 balls in either hand was one of the hardest parts, so I decided I didn't care about catching all 5 balls at the end of my streak. I was just gonna keep the pattern going as long as I could until I dropped. Right after I started to try this, I landed 10 catches and I didn't even realize it.
Oh.
I thought this was 9 in the moment. I still knew I could do it better though, so I did it with no drops just a little while later. And then I was on a roll with 10 catches. I got it over 10 times this day. 2 goals down, 1 to go, and from here on out, I was simply trying to refine the skill of 5-ball juggling, so I was just practicing for hours and days on end. I figured out using my big brain after landing 10 catches that it's gonna take 43 to 47 catches to get to 10 seconds. Considering I could barely do 10 catches at this point, this seemed almost impossible. I had to really start thinking about my juggling form and how I was practicing because luck was not gonna get me almost 5 times as many catches. I had to make sure that my first 5 throws were all at the same height and at the right timing so that the catches and throws that came after weren't slowed down or rushed. These were the only throws where the weight in each hand was changing and the throw force had to change, which made it pretty difficult. I thought about and adjusted each throw to make sure I was keeping the balls within a certain distance in front of my body, because once one ball went too far forwards or backwards, it was almost impossible to get the pattern back. And probably most importantly, I had to try to relax my arms, because juggling with my arms tight and scrunched up the whole time made juggling way harder and more erratic than it needed to be. This was the hardest part for me. I don't think I ever reached a point where I was actually relaxed when juggling. With all of this in mind, I kept going, and slowly I was making progress with my max number of catches. But my progress wasn't anywhere close to as fast as I wanted it to be. I was getting exhausted. Throwing balls for hours on end and constantly bending over to pick up balls was actually taking a toll on my whole body. So I started doing 30-minute sessions on day 6, and I'd take a break, usually around an hour after each session. I ended up lowering this to 20-minute sessions on day 9, and then landed on 10-minute sessions on day 17 as the optimal amount of time, because it was just diminishing returns after 10 minutes. Days turned into weeks, and the slow progress was starting to get to me. Half the days, I wasn't making any progress at all. I started to realize that my hope of it just clicking in my mind and everything becoming easy was never gonna happen.
This is never gonna end.
The sounds of the balls hitting each other and hitting the ground were maddening. I started losing my mind.
Fuck me, man.
This challenge tested my durability, and I tested the ball's durability. But it was set in stone. I made 10 seconds my goal, and there was no turning back. I was gonna get it done, even if I died trying. Even when it seemed impossible, and like I was gonna explode out of anger, I took a break and came back and failed again. Trying each day to not hit the balls together when I've got a good streak going, and to actually
Just catch the balls, man.
I was getting better. I was finally feeling like I could actually do this. I was putting all my focus into accomplishing this goal. And on day 23, this happened.
Come on.
All I had to do was catch one more ball, but I couldn't. I was so disappointed, especially when it happened again the next day. I could have faked it and said it was 10 seconds just to get it over with, but I would have known that I never got it and I wouldn't have been able to live with it. On day 25, I completely changed. I went monk mode. All the stress of missing it by milliseconds the days before, bending over constantly to get the balls, and going crazy from having balls in my face all day, I let it all wash away. I didn't care if I screwed it up at the last second, it just was what it was. Weirdly enough, it turns out that sometimes not being insane can actually work, because 36 hours of practice later, over almost a full month,
I think that might have been it.
I finally landed 10 seconds of juggling. This was an amazing feeling. Finally doing something I worked so hard to do, especially something that will definitely have far-reaching benefits in my life. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you've gained something from this video, whether it's just entertaining to watch a guy freak out and obsess over something so weird, or it's motivational to see a man get broken down, then rise up from the ashes of despair to finish something that seemed impossible. I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments. And until the next one, remember that the harder something is, the better it feels to do it, and you'll never finish without dropping your balls first. Get out and challenge yourselves, guys.